FatDag is a Weight Watchers leader in Indianapolis, Indiana. However, the views and opinions expressed during this podcast are his own. They do not represent the views of Weight Watchers. And now, here's your host and wingman, FatDag.
I am your host, FatDag, and you're listening to WhysAdvice. My weight loss journey failed when I focused on how. It wasn't until I switched my focus to why that I truly transformed myself. Join the show on the web at fatdag.com and follow along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at WhysAdvice. Send in your comments, your questions, your celebrations. I'll include them as part of the show. But before we dive in, remember, when you're out of points, stop eating points. Hey, I'm honored to be your wingman as we walk through this journey together because I believe in you. Well, hello, welcome to episode 140 of WhysAdvice. It continues to be my honor to be here with you and to watch all of you tune in. It's such an amazing community that we have built. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit later in the show, exactly what this community means. I want you to hang out for the entire show tonight. I know normally we run late, depending on where you're listening from. If you're in your car, I want you to kind of pull over. Whatever you're doing, this episode, you kind of got to go from the beginning to the end and just take it all in. I think it's going to be that special, and we'll see how we go. But I got a great show for you planned. I want to open the show, let you know when we do this live on Facebook. We do it live on Instagram. And, man, I got an amazing surprise as we fired up Facebook and just started rambling with the folks and just chatting in. As you know, Operation FatDag is just something that is completely it's just so dear and near and dear to my heart because as I put on Connect, there was a point where Veterans Day could have been a completely different holiday for me. There was a point where, just 3 months before I decided to really change my life, I was getting ready to be booted from the military. And I thought of that this weekend as Veterans Day celebrations were all over the place, is that, man, I was about 3 months away from having to answer the Happy Veterans Day with a look on my face of, yeah, well, except for the fact that I was kicked out of the Air Force and I didn't really get to serve the way I wanted to serve. So luckily, I didn't have to answer that way because I had this community of people who understood me, helped me get my mind right, helped me get to goals so I can continue serving in the United States Air Force. That's what I'm so proud to be able to do that. But on this Veterans Day weekend, I'm very thankful for you, my wingman. And so that's what Operation FatDag does, is it just walks around and I tell other folks who are in the military that, it doesn't have to end this way. You have the ability to fix it and solve it. I was in your shoes. I get it. And I fixed it. And so you can fix it. And so tonight on Facebook, as we're firing up, Nate chimes in and says, "Hey, Mike, I was in your last Life Fit class." And so here he is joining us on Facebook. So Nate, special shout out to you. Dude, congratulations on being here. Congratulations on taking charge of your life. Man, you got this. If you're tuned in right now, you got this, man. You are, you're going to kill it. So thank you for being here. Thank you for everyone who wrote in the letters and cards. This is why we do this. And I couldn't be more proud of this community tonight on special night on Veterans Day weekend. And you guys have answered the call, and we're changing lives together. So thank you for that. This first email I want to read, it's real simple. It says, "Dag, my reason for writing is twofold. First and foremost, I need to share it with listeners what happened to me this week. I've been active with Weight Watchers since January, and this is my third and final start date. I've lost 25 pounds this year and 52 pounds total. On September 29th, I had major surgery. I thought I had all the bases covered to aid in my recovery. I didn't. I didn't communicate my needs clearly regarding food before surgery, and I was afraid to ask post. I felt selfish asking since loved ones were already sacrificing their time to help me. Unfortunately, I experienced a 10-pound gain between the food and the lack of exercise. The biggest problem wasn't the gain, though. It was my mind being stuck in the rut, that I had to lose this weight before it went into the book. I didn't call my coach. I didn't ask for help. I was drowning. 2 weeks I lost to self-pity. I finally put on my big girl panties and I called my coach. It was another week before I got into the meeting. Walking through that door was harder than it was the first time. You know what? No one judged me. They hugged me and I cried twice. They asked if I needed help. Why are we our own worst enemies? I'm hoping someone can learn from my struggle. Second is my why. I've been listening to you for a few weeks now, and I can't wrap my head around my why. My weight has been a lifelong battle, and I haven't been able to figure out a true why. There is always the better health, and then I just feel better, but that sounds so generic. Oh, and the hotness thing. Vanity is a big driver too, but that sounds shallow. How do I find a real why? Thanks for being there for us. Well, congratulations on realizing this, because when you start realizing that you're in control of this journey and then you can play the mind game back and you can beat your mind, that's how you've lost 52 pounds. So congratulations. You don't lose 52 pounds by accident. You've lost it deliberately with focus. Major surgery or not, you're a rock star. And so you went through this entire process, and I understand exactly where you come from in the sense where you say, I saw the 10-pound gain. It wasn't a big deal that you had the number. The big deal was you didn't want that permanently entered into your weight loss journal. And a lot of times that's what keeps so many of us from succeeding, is because we have those moments, and that instead of putting it in the book and owning it as just data, we go back into the denial. We continue to build that wall around us, and we say, I'm just not going to see it. Well, you weighed the same whether you hop on the scale or not. We all know that part of it. It is just data, and the brain is completely strange on this journey. If you watch me, I weigh myself every single day, and I finally understood, and it took me weighing daily to get there, that it truly is just data. I can tie the number to an event the day before or the day or two before. Almost every morning, the numbers don't surprise me. So now what happens is I'm completely confident in my ability that if I want to, when I want to, I can just reverse the data trends. And you've done that with your 52-pound weight loss. So you've proven to yourself that one is just data, and two, you know how to make the data work in your favor. The days you track, the day you follow the plan, the day your head is in the game, you stay focused, you stay mindful to the process, are the days that you're winning. Keep doing that. Great job on your plan. You did an amazing plan, planning through your surgery, and big deal. So you didn't figure out the post-surgery part until well after, but that didn't have an impact on your journey. The impact on your journey, the part that tells me you're going to make goal, the part that tells me is that you are going to set whatever goals you want and win, is the fact that you walked back through the door when it was harder than the first time. You're right. No one judged you at all. Do you know why no one judged you? Because we are you. That is what's special about this community. Unlike any other community, this community specifically understands everything you've written in your email. Now, if you share this outside the community, there are people that may not get it, or at least they live in denial with it, but they don't get to the point where you're at, where they understand truly that we are all the same. And I told you more than once on this show, we talk about I see people post on Connect and they post on Facebook, hey, Dag says this, and I heard on episode such and such. And a lot of times I'll say, I didn't actually say it like that. I said it just a little bit differently, but your mind heard it differently because that's what you wanted to hear. That's what you needed to hear. But the point is, everything we all experience is so similar. It's just we put our own spin on the little bit of a detail, but the big picture is all the same. We are all the same. We are all you. We are all living this journey together. And that's exactly why, whether it's your first time, your 10th time, your 15th time, when you walk into the meeting room, we are going to hug you. We are going to welcome you with open arms because that's what we need in this journey is to be welcomed, and we want to treat other people how we treat each other, and that is what makes it successful. So now, how do you find your why? That's a great question. I get that question all the time, and I've kind of written it down to, here's about 5 things I want you to think about. I want you to grab a pen. I want you to grab a piece of paper. I want you to write yourself a story, and I want you to answer these 5 questions. If you can write yourself a story and you can answer these 5 questions in your story, it will bring tears to your story. It'll bring life to your journey. It'll bring your why into focus. It'll help you continue to do your goal. The first question is real simple. What are your expectations? When you joined, what was your expectation? Write that down, what that means. Question number 2, do you believe you can do it? Now, really, do you really, truly believe you can do this? If your immediate first answer wasn't yes, you need to dig into what is in your way. What are the roadblocks? What's stopping me? Because if you don't believe you can do it 100%, then we got to figure out what it is that's telling you that you can't. Because you stay focused on what it is that's blocking you, you're going to eventually give into that. So I want you to believe you can do it. I believe you can do it. And if I believe you can do it, and we haven't even met, if I believe you can do it, then there's no reason why you shouldn't believe that you can do it as well. The 4th question I want you to ask is, what's the hardest thing you've ever done in your life? And I know that question's painful. I asked that question a couple times, and I got some very painful responses. What is the hardest thing you ever had to do in your life? Do you think tracking a donut is easier or more difficult than that? I believe that what you do that's hard in your life prepares you for this. This part, it's very easy to open your app and track it. It's difficult at times to actually take the steps to do it. But what we're asking you to do is easy and doable, especially when you start comparing it to some of the very difficult things you've had to endure. The last thing I want you to write down is, who is responsible for your success? You are. Right? So if you're responsible for your success and you know what your expectations are and you believe you can do it, and we've just now proven that it's not difficult or it's not hard, it's just difficult, then write that in a story, figure out what your why is, continue rocking your plan, and go get it done. Thank you for your amazing email. Angie writes in, says, hello there, not FatDag. First, thank you for your dedication to producing this show every day, except for the days that you don't. I have a long commute into work each morning, and your podcasts have allowed me to spend that time gearing up to tackle my day, to start off focused on what's important to me, and to hold off on the mountain of work that will be there soon enough anyway. As a busy mom of 2, this time of self-reflection and self-care is easy to lose sight of. But your show serves as a reminder to keep my head in the game, and I am forever grateful for you for that. I'm writing to you today to celebrate. I hit 10%. And you know what that means? I am going to hit goal. Leading up to this, it didn't seem like that big of a deal. But now that I've done it, it feels incredible. I've worked really hard. I've made important lifestyle changes. I didn't lose 10% on accident. But listening to your show before today, I didn't really understand why you always said, if you hit 10%, you can hit goal. But I get it now. I set attendance goals, not performance goals. And something you said in an early episode really stuck with me. What did I have for breakfast this morning? 7. It doesn't matter what I ate. I had 7 points. That has really helped me to get out of the weeds. So many times before, I would get worked up about how many carbs to eat or the right mix of foods that I would work for a week or two, and then I would just get so overwhelming, I would just give up. there is something major to be said about keeping it simple. WhysAdvice, when you're out of points, stop eating points. So I just wanted to thank you and celebrate with you because we walked this journey together. You are a broken record in my head, and it's awesome. Angie, be sweet on Connect. Angie, thank you for your email. You're right. I remember that episode. I get asked often, hey, what do you eat? What's a typical day? What's a typical? I say, well, normally a typical day for me is probably 4 or 5 for breakfast or 7 for breakfast, and it's probably 8 or 9 for lunch, and it's probably 15 to or so for dinner. And because I stay with the plan. When I'm out of points, I stop eating points. I figure out how many points I get for the day, and I eat them. And that's how I work the plan. That's how I lost 91 pounds to get myself to goal and just continue to completely change my life. Congratulations on your 10%. You're absolutely right. If you've hit 10%, you can hit goal. And I understand that for a lot of folks, that's foreign. Because if you've never hit that, if you've been the type of person that you've never set a goal for yourself, if you've never set yourself up on a path and said, I want to do this, and you've given yourself a finish line to run and cross to, you don't know what it's like to cross it. That 10% for you is a finish line. It's a finish line saying that I've crossed off a goal. I proved to myself I can actually accomplish something. So you sit there and you look at your 10% as the first victory of a very long race. And so congratulations on getting there. You set a goal. The goal was measurable. It had a timeline. You did it. Just continue doing that, and you absolutely will hit lifetime. You can continue hitting 10% every single time period you want to hit it. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. And at some point you say, yeah, I'm done. I no longer want to lose any more weight. I'm happy exactly where I want to be. Now, what's happening to you is your head is 100% in the game. The podcast is helping you do that, but you have to take the step to hit play on the podcast because your head is in the game long before you pull it up and you start listening. When you're listening, it continues to keep you in the game, but your head is in the game before you hit play. I guarantee you that part of it. You have a daily set of focus to keep yourself in that self-reflection mode, that self-care mode, and that's really what taking care of you. That is what enabled you to get to your 10%. So don't overthink the plan. Continue to work it exactly how you're working it. You will find the success that you deserve. And when you do, I can't wait to hear from you. Congratulations. From Staten Island, Sharyn writes in. She says, "Hi, Mike. I restarted this journey in August 2016 at 311.8 for the very last time. I've been on and off Weight Watchers since I was 13 years old. I have lived my life ashamed of myself. I was always the fat cousin, friend, wife, mother, etc. It got to the point where I wouldn't walk around the block. I wouldn't take a picture, and basically I hid from my life. The final straw may have been at the start of the summer of 2016 when I climbed the pool ladder and it collapsed. My husband and kids pretended it was the ladder's fault, but we all know it wasn't. As mortifying as that was, it took me another 3 months to walk back into Weight Watchers. I rejoined with very little expectation for success, but I figured there was nothing to lose. I would try it and I would see if it worked. I weighed, I measured, and I tracked. I started using the treadmill, and slowly the weight began coming off. No loss was ever enough for me, but the numbers started to add up. Here I stand, 14 months later, down 129.8 pounds. I have used all the tools that were given to me. Connect is a lifeline, meetings are so important, and you are my constant traveling companion. We commute to New York City each morning, and now when we get off the bus, we walk around the footprints of the World Trade Center each morning as well. So thank you for everything. I have signed up as a patron of yours, and I hope my little bit helps. I was writing to try and put into words the feeling of pride I have now. As I'm getting closer to goal, I think another 25 to 27 pounds, I'm getting stronger. There is no food you can put in front of me that is more important than goal. I'm on a mission. I am laser focused. I'm almost giddy with pride. I trusted God and I trusted myself, and I'm getting this done. I think this is the feeling you talk about when you said that you're losing the last 10 to 15 pounds was more fulfilling than the initial loss. I can't believe how good I feel each day, how proud I am of me. I feel like I have a life now. I don't have to hide anymore. So again, thank you for all you're doing. I hope everyone out there believes they can do this too. God bless, Sharyn from Staten Island. Sharyn, in an amazing email, I was sitting reading your email, and another good friend of mine, Keith, and I were chatting back and forth, and he answered your email without even knowing you sent the email. And I want to read his reply because the two of you have never met. He had no idea that your email was written in. Him and I were talking about something totally different. But his response to a question I asked him is the most perfect response to your email. So I want to jump to Keith's response and he didn't even know he was typing a response to your email. He's also in New York as well, so I would imagine after this, the two of you are probably going to link up. Keith says, well, particularly humans who live in the prison of obesity. That's who this audience resonates with. It is both an armor to protect the damaged, while also being a prison for those same souls. When you find your why and you move toward goal, you find the world around you interacts differently with you. It doesn't fix the underlying issues, but the human contact is tonic for the soul. Finding a group of people who have been on the same journey and respect your damage and still want to connect, it is magnetic. Why else would our little group thrive? Through you, the pump has been primed. You remind people of their humanity and the fact that we each have the right to find happiness. For some where the wounds run deep, finding someone that gives them the support and the permission to thrive is almost transcendent. Not to stroke your ego, but what you do is truly important because you give people permission to love themselves enough to live a well-lived life. I've known a lot of very damaged people and a lot who never made it out of the darkness. Keith, you're absolutely right. The struggle is absolutely real. And Sharyn made it out. And so what's amazing about her emails from 311 down, 129.8 pounds, it's a completely different life. 311 pounds, I got to 263, so I don't understand 311, but I understand the pain is completely the same. If you don't like the way you look, if you don't like the way you feel, it's a prison. It's a life sentence. And a lot of us just accept that life sentence as there's nothing we can do about it. For the longest time, I wasn't the fat kid, cousin, mother. I was the fat airman. And I couldn't do the fitness assessment. I couldn't run. I didn't like pictures either. Just exactly what you said, Sharyn, is that you got to the point where you couldn't walk around the block. You just basically hid from life. And I think that's what happens. I think a lot of us, or all of us, when we get to this point, the world treats us completely different. Whether we want to admit it or not, whether the world is willing to admit it, there is a class of Americans, a class of people, we're international, there's a class of people who are just treated completely different simply because of their size. It has no bearing on their work ethic. It has no bearing on their ability to get the done. It has no bearing on the heart that's beating inside that body. But the world sees them and treats them differently, and only those who've lived it understand it. I lived it. You lived it. We're all living it. And as Keith so beautifully writes, that finding a group of people who have been on the same journey and respect your damage anyways is magnetic. And that's what brings us all together. You know, I've said it before, I had amazing support in my journey, but a lot of the support that I had outside of this community was simply people who didn't understand the struggle of being overweight and being treated differently. I can tell you now that being on the other side of this is a completely different life for me. I have recognized that I am now treated differently as a healthy, fit, thin person than I was when I was overweight. It's amazing. And I'm going to now start paying more attention to it because I want to start drawing attention to it. But I think a lot of times that, as we start this journey, as we have success on this journey, we are afraid of losing our identity. You've heard that before. You've heard people say, I'm afraid to lose the weight. And so if your entire life you've been treated differently, you've been treated, probably negatively by the culture, you build a wall around you to defend yourself. And you build up your body, and your body gets bigger and bigger, and you're now protecting yourself from everything that's going on. And then at some point, you've just started getting used to the way you've been treated. And you're able to cope with that and deal with it in your own little way. Not that it's right, but you are able to start having a life anyways, even though in the darks and the shadows of that life is still that shame, that embarrassment. But day to day, you're able to get through, you're able to get by. But when you're in by yourself, it's that world is just, it just beats up on you and you don't like it. So you build that wall, like I talked about, you build that wall to defend yourself. And then when you start losing weight, you're afraid now of losing your identity because you've protected yourself for so long that now will the world treat me differently? Because I understand how they treat me now, and I finally just came to terms with it. I'm living with it. I found a way to accept it. I don't want to lose that. So it absolutely hurts when we start walking this journey, and we have to find people that we completely trust, and this community, the podcast, the Facebook group, Connect, are all people who understand our journey. And when you lose the last 5 or 10 pounds, that's why you've got to push forward. When you lose the last 5 or 10 pounds in your journey, when you step on the scale and you say, I no longer want to lose any more weight, it's at that point that you really simply say, I'm done. I'm a completely different person, and the world starts treating you differently. And they should have treated you this way all along, but you took charge, and took that power away from them. I had a great honor this weekend of witnessing this. You heard me talk about Chris before, and Chris's story. About when he walked into Weight Watchers. He walked into my meeting for the very first time as I was a meeting leader. And I've shared this a couple times on a couple different episodes. And we didn't have a scale that would register for him. But I recognized something in this guy. I recognized determination. And I could see through his shirt, even though it said Yankees, I could see past that. I could see through his body, and I could see his heart. I looked into his eyes, and I could see that here was a guy who just needed someone to understand him. And I did understand him. It was the most amazing encounter I've ever had in any of the meetings I've ever been in. I can tell you honestly, it was the most amazing encounter I'd ever had with anyone that I've met. And I recognized something in him, and it completely broke me when I couldn't help him. When we didn't have a scale that was able to register him, and we had to send him away he started on his first day, and a group of peers where he came for help. couldn't do anything for him but say, come back next week. He came back the week later, and again, I knew that this guy was going to succeed. He came back the second week, and unfortunately, we had the same issues. I couldn't get him a weight on the scale. And I'm telling you, nothing has hurt me more on this journey than that, ever. And because my whole mission at this point is to let everyone know that you have a wingman. And I'm here for you. And then here was the first opportunity in my entire life where I wasn't able to be there for that. And then on the third week, Chris continued to show up. And he continued to get it done. And he's now down an amazing number, 130 some pounds, encroaching up on a 150 pound weight loss. But what I saw this weekend was something that you can only describe as magical. I have other people in the meeting room that are in the similar scenario as Chris. And I couldn't relate the same way that Chris could. And watching this guy who was so beat down at the very first couple of weigh-ins, but was determined to get it done, watching him share the pride that he now has, watching him gleam from ear to ear with excitement as he said, hey, you can do this. I did it. I'm doing it. That is freedom. That's the power of this group. That's the power of exactly what Keith writes in and says, that we're all humans. We all have a heart. We all just have the right to find happiness. And we just got to truly just live our lives. And we need to make sure that there are, as Keith said, there are so many very damaged people out there that they've just never made it out of the darkness. So it's important for us to get to goal. Because when we get to goal, that shows someone else that there's some light. It opens that door just a little bit so that they too can see that it's possible, that they can see that the journey that they're on has hope, and that they can do it. They found a group of people who are going to walk in and hug them no matter what, because we are them. And that is the power of this group. And I thank you, all of you, for being here, for sharing, for tuning in. It just continues to blow my mind, the amazing supportive community that we built together. And I'm truly honored to be your wingman as we walk through it. And I got a couple cool shout outs. Lacey over on Instagram before we got started reached into, I'm down 140 pounds. A year, I've kept it off for a year at Lifetime, celebrating 140 pound weight loss. Powerful. Way to go, Lacey. I'm very, very proud of you. At the exact same time, Katie writes in, says she's down 10%. If you've hit 10%, you know you've set that goal. You've set a milestone. Nothing is in your way from completely changing your life. Go get your new identity. Your new identity is out there waiting for you. Your new life is out there waiting for you. I'm telling you, it's a beautiful life. I'm telling you, the pieces of your life that you love right now, you get to bring with you. The pieces that you don't like, you get to leave behind. But it takes you showing up every day with determination, with focus, to want to get this done. And when you do, we're going to celebrate. What is it that you're celebrating? Let's share it on the air. Go to FatDag.com, click on Listen Now, send in your celebrations, send in your comments, your questions. I'll work them in as part of the show. You can email in at onair@FatDag.com. I want you to email in your celebrations because I want you to be proud of what you're doing. More importantly, I want you to help shed some light into the darkness so that everybody else understands that it doesn't have to be this way. When I talk about Operation FatDag, I open this talk with saying, you don't have to be here. You don't have to be here. You're here. That's fine. But you have the ability to take control of your life and get out. And when you do, you share it with the community and somebody else comes along with you. And that, my friends, is how we completely change the world. Well, that's going to do it for this time. Remember that losing weight and getting healthy has nothing to do with luck. You have to remain disciplined and focused. Set your sights on your goal and go after it. I wish you good focus.